Hello, I'm Anis Demir.
So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I gonna go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom.
I'm out.
Peace, family. Oh, hold on. My mic is way over here. What am I doing? My mic was on the other side of the room. Sorry about that. Hold on. Let me make sure we got the mic set up correctly. Again, my mic was on the other side. Was over there. But hello, everyone. I hope all is well. I hope all is going well. Happy to see you all on this Monday afternoon. Do me a favor, hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share. And also make sure you subscribe. If you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, please go to search for Uhuru.com. Please go to search for Uhuru.com and buy the documentary. Go and buy the documentary. This documentary is going to inspire you to go to the continent, to inspire you to travel to Africa, all that good stuff. Ashley was having, I guess, power issues, and I don't know if she's in South Africa right now or if she's in Tanzania, but she was having some power issues. I'm like, y'all don't have a generator? So yeah, she was having some power issues. So that's why, we didn't do the show. But we'll run it back when she gets some free time. All right, so please go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Also, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I don't know why. So right now, the view count, the number of viewers, it's not showing for some reason. Yeah, it's not showing for some reason. Yeah, that's weird. But anyways, shout out to everybody who's coming in, piling into the chat. Tours. We are rolling to Sierra Leone in April. Again, we are rolling to Sierra Leone in April 19th through the 30th. Come and join us in Sierra Leone, man. Look at that beautiful beach. Look at that beautiful coastline. Leo, you said he's going to send me some money, Leo. Nawa. You said he's going to drop me some money, Leo. You still ain't sent me my money, bro. See how y'all do? Man, Diners, man, I support you, brother. I love everything you do, man. I'm going to send you something, Diners. I'm going to send you something. That was 6 years ago. That was 6, 7 years ago. You still ain't sent it. See how y'all do? You know, guys, Sierra Leone, April 19th to the 30th. Yeah, Donnie's, man, I love what you do, man. I'm going to send you something, man. I got you, brother. I got you, man. Shoot, it's on the way. 7 years later. What's up, Dinus? So, guys, Sierra Leone, April 19th to the 30th. Sierra Leone, April 19th to the 30th. We are then rolling to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. We are rolling to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. Also, what else? We got Nigeria in August. And then what else we have? Leo, come on. Leo, you can call in, Leo. You can call in. I'm going to put the link in the chat room here in about 25 minutes. And that was like the whole ADOS thing. That was probably a year after you say he's going to break your brother off or something. So, yeah, whatever, Leo. That's the excuse you want to use, whatever. And then let's see here. Then we have Zanzibar in November. Zanzibar in November. Come and join us, y'all. Come and join us. Let me play this video real quick. You know, Kamala Harris, she's in Ghana. I don't know what. Well, we know what for. I mean, guys, what's going on? This is what's going on. China and Russia have made inroads in Africa, and now the United States of America is threatened, and now they're trying to come and, you know, I guess cut deals, but it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. So this might as well be just a glorified vacation for Kamala. You know, she's in Ghana. I'm sure they'll take her to Cape Coast to the slave dungeons and, you know, all that other stuff. And I think she's going to Tanzania, and I think she's going to Zambia. But listen, the United States of America for the longest had the opportunity to actually build worthwhile relations with Africa, but instead they wanted to send their economic hitmen and participate in just about every, not just about, participate and play a role in every major assassination in Africa of political leaders. But now they're coming around saying, "Oh, listen, we want to do business with you guys. We want to help develop and contribute to the betterment of Africa." But it's too late. Russia and China's already in Africa. They've already cut better deals. It's too late. That ship has sailed. So Kamala Harris is in Ghana, you know, politicking and babbling like usual. Here we go. There was here we go. And this too. Let me play. Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. And she's going for this too. PF is too late. It's too late, PF. Hold on. Let me play this real quick. Let me blow this up. Here we go.
And don't do your taxes. Meet with an expert who will do them for you, so you can do not taxes.
Thank you both for taking the time. Zolan Kano Youngs from the New York Times. Madam Vice President, you have made clear that the message of this trip is centered on a collaborative future. At the same time, the Biden administration committed to calling out any foreign government that advanced anti-gay legislation or violates human rights.
That's the play. I knew it was coming. When China and Russia, when they come to Africa and they're doing business, are they bringing up the LGBTQ agenda? I don't. And listen, I love my family. I love everybody, man. I respect everybody. But why do we have to lead with that, with everything that Africa needs and what we could contribute to Africa? Why, when the US government comes to Africa, that's the first thing they want to lead with? Let me run that back.
Times, Zolan Kano-Youngs from the New York Times. Madam Vice President, you have made clear that the message of this trip is centered on a collaborative future. At the same time, the Biden administration committed to calling out any foreign government that advanced anti-gay legislation or violates human rights. All three of the countries that you are visiting on this trip have advanced or proposed anti-gay legislation. Has proposed a bill that would imprison those that engage in same-sex intercourse. Gay sex remains a crime in Tanzania, and same-sex relationships are outlawed in Zambia. What have you said to the president and plan to say to other leaders on this trip about the crackdown on human rights? And for the president as well, you've talked about the proliferation of terrorist groups across the region, as well as pirate activities along the Western African coast. What does the presence of the Wagner Group say about past U.S. support when it comes to security? What more do you need from the United States to combat this threat? And also, can you confirm that Al-Qaeda has a presence currently in Ghana? Thank you.
I'll start. I have raised this issue, and let me be clear about where we stand. First of all, for the American press who are here, you know that a great deal of work in my career has been to address human rights issues, equality issues across the board, including as it relates to the LGBT community. And I feel very strongly about the importance of supporting the freedom and supporting and fighting for equality among all people, and that all people be treated equally. I will also say that this is an issue that we consider, and I consider, to be a human rights issue, and that will not change.
Oh, yes. What's the name?
Kano-Youngs of the New York Times.
Zolan. Ms. Young. So thank you for the question. First of all, we don't have any such legislation here in Ghana. A bill has been proposed to the Parliament of Ghana, which has all kinds of ramifications, which is now being considered by the Parliament. It hasn't been passed. So the statement that there is legislation in Ghana to that effect is not accurate. The bill is going through the Parliament. It's going through the Parliament. The Attorney General has found it necessary to speak to the committee about it regarding the constitutionality or otherwise of several of its provisions, and the Parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in. But in the meantime, the Parliament is dealing with it. And I have no doubt that the Parliament of Ghana will show, as it's done in the past, first of all, its sensitivity to human rights issues, as well as to the feelings of our population, and will come out with a responsible response to the proposed. The legislation was a legislation that is being provided as a private member's bill. This is not an official legislation of the government, but it is one that has been mooted by a handful of private members. So we will see what the final outcome of it. But my understanding from the recent discussion I had with the committee, the substantial elements of the bill have already been modified as a result of the intervention of the Attorney General. We will see what the final outcome will be. And that is the stage at which I will also have the opportunity to provide.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share your comments below and subscribe to our.
And I want to reiterate that I am for rights for everyone. It's just for some odd reason, whenever there's a visit from a politician from the West to Africa, they want to lead with the LGBTQ. Now, the LGBTQ agenda. China's not doing that. Russia's not doing that. And if the United States of America is serious about countering or offering a better deal or building a relationship with Africa, a fruitful one, and contributing to development, why the hell do you guys, why do you lead with that? Like, why do you lead with that? It just doesn't make any sense. El Nabo, you got a great point. Why when the United States of America goes to Saudi Arabia or all these other countries, they're not bringing that up? Again, why when the United States of America goes to Saudi Arabia or China or all these other countries, they don't bring it up? It's just it's the way they're obsessed with this. It just doesn't make any sense. You want to come and talk about how you want to help develop and build a relationship with Africa and counter what China and Russia's doing, and the first thing you want to bring up is the alphabet. It's just it doesn't add. It doesn't. Why? So, that actually wasn't the video I wanted to play. This is the video I wanted to play. Hold on one second. Here we go. This is the video I wanted to play right here.
For the ones working hard so things can keep running, there's Granger.
Let this soft mineral melt in your mouth to rebuild your gums and teeth, and never need expensive dental visits again. People are fixing their receding gums, decaying teeth,
and all of that. So when we
come back, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is embarking on a week-long trip to Africa. She is the first Black woman U.S. Vice President to visit the continent, and it will come 8 years after Barack Obama, the first U.S. Black president, made his trip to the region in office. A trip is the latest by U.S. officials who plan on visiting or visited Africa. She will visit Ghana, she visits Tanzania and Zambia, where she will hold meetings with top leaders focusing on economic development, climate change, and food security, among other issues. Mr. Isaac Utter, international trade policy expert and founder of the Africa Center for International Trade and Development, based in Accra, Ghana, joins me. Good afternoon, sir. It's good to have you on the program.
And good afternoon also to your viewers.
We're saying that Kamala Harris, as the Vice President of the U.S., has arrived yesterday, that's Sunday, in Ghana's capital, Accra. But before she did that, in a radio interview on Friday, she said, and I quote, "I'm going to Africa mainly to talk with African leaders about what we as the United States are prepared to do to have our role in investing in the future of that continent." Now, what do you think she means? What are the general expectations here?
Thank you very much. As you know, since the time Biden took of office, when he became a U.S. president, we haven't seen much coming from the U.S. so far as their relationship with Africa is concerned. And it has kept a lot of people wondering, what is the U.S., preparing to do for Africa? What are their plans and all of that? So for us, this is a good news, because maybe we think there's going to be an opportunity for us to get to know in detail what some of these plans are. An example, looking at, there's the issue, I think somewhere last year we had President Joe Biden announcing a 10-year strategy to prevent conflict and also promote stability in West African countries. So we are hoping that the Vice President will throw more light on that 10-year strategic plan that they have for West Africa in terms of peace and security. And then also we are looking forward to hearing more about what their plans, what the U.S. plan in terms of investing in women and youth entrepreneurship is concerned. If they talk about the future of Africa, we all know the future of Africa is in the hands of our youth.
Okay.
So we believe that they may have some plans for the youth of this continent, especially the women-led entrepreneurs and all of that. So I want to know, she might unfold some of the plans that, the U.S. is bringing on board to come and support with the development of our youth in terms of the, how the future holds for them.
Okay.
And then also what are some of the investment opportunities they have for our young people in health. Yes, often, the U.S. government supports through the USAID on a lot of health projects such as malaria, TBT, and most of the infectious diseases. So we are also hoping that maybe they'll make an announcement as to what plans they have for this.
Okay, so Mr. Arthur, we know that the U.S. is Ghana's second top export and import country after China. But from this visit, as a part of this visit, what benefits or opportunities will this visit bring to Ghana in relation to trade?
Yes, I mean, Ghana has always been part of the AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunity Act. That's the U.S. government is implementing with some African states. So we want to know what the opportunities they are going to still be. Are they going to expand the opportunities under AGOA for more Ghanaian businesses to benefit from? Because at a stance, AGOA only benefits a few sectors, especially those in clothing, textiles, and few other limited sectors. So we want to know whether they probably have some plans to expand the coverage of AGOA. And then also we realize that U.S. has also developed the habit of signing some bilateral trade agreement with a few of other African countries. So if that is also going to happen, are we expecting any major bilateral agreement between Ghana and the U.S., so far as trade is concerned?
I cannot wait till they're out of office. Oh my! I cannot wait till they are out of office. But let's bring Alan on. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. Well, hey, how you doing, Dennis?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good. I'm hanging in there. Yeah, this lady is a joke, and she's not taken seriously in this country, and she will not be taken seriously over there. This is way too little, way too late. This is just reactionary, reactionary thing that they're doing in response to China making such inroads inside Africa. That's it. They don't even want to make a deal. They're not even coming with anything other than maybe some aid, which has been their approach all along. There's nothing they're actually asking or contribute. They're not asking to build any infrastructure. They're not trying to add or contribute anything. So naturally, African countries are choosing China and Russia. Plus, China gets to tell them their success story about how, in the 50s, they were poorer than most African countries. And now they're the world's superpower. They're offering a way for Africans to do something for themselves. And it's not just there, it's the Caribbean. And, so we need to pay attention to that and understand that, this is a multipolar society. This is the world. This is not America is the sole hegemon anymore. And you can't treat people the way that you used to. What you used to do doesn't work. And so this just seems more of the same. It's just window dressing.
Yeah. Guys, listen, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in after the conversation. Do me a favor, guys. How many people are watching? Because I'm not getting the correct viewer count in the chat room or Alan. How many people are watching? Do you know?
I can't see.
You can't see. Guys, hit the like button. And also, somebody put in the chat room how many people are actually watching. If you're watching, hit the like button. Links in the chat room.
Yeah, I can't see it. But no, this is
114 people. Okay.
There's I think America is running scared. They're scared of BRICS. They're scared of a lot of things. And so this is just a reaction. But as usual with this administration, they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan other than to show up, flash somebody who they perceive as black, and try to make it relatable, and using Kamala for the only thing that they think they can use it for, and I just don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, this is just laughable.
Yeah, her speech didn't even make any sense. I listened to her.
None of her speeches make any sense.
Yeah, I'm here cackling like her, but
Yeah. Yeah,
people,
none of her speeches make any
her
sense.
her laugh is so condescending. It's not even that she's nervous or that she thinks something's funny and it's genuine laughter. When she laughs, she's in the context you hear it in, it's condescension. And that's one of her most annoying qualities to me.
Hey, Alan, I want you to address this. So in the chat room, King Lewis says she needs she needs to address why Ghana is taking these people land that come from America that bought that land. They're kicking them off of their land.
That's my response, man.
No, good.
I'm a Kamala cackle. That's a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, Kamala's gonna cackle to that one.
Oh Lord, no, it's laughable, and the thing is that this is happening all over the world. This isn't just happening here. And again, like I said, there's a whole coalition called BRICS that's happening where countries are joining a new coalition of nations. This is America is gonna see that we're in major trouble, and if they find a way to use this Chinese I forget what it's called currency to and for international trade.
Alan, do you see what's going on? Like, and they're not showing it or talking about it. Do you see what's going on, like in the Middle East, and like you said, with BRICS and all these other relationships that are forming?
Yeah, it's insane that American news is not even covering it. You have to go to
so Iran and what's the country?
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
China brokered the deal between them.
Right.
The world's not even coming to the United States to find peace deals anymore because.
Well, that's not true, Alan. Your boy, well, you didn't vote for him. Donald Trump brokered a deal in the Middle East.
He sure did. He should.
But it wasn't enough for you Negroes. It wasn't enough.
Well, listen.
It wasn't enough for you Negroes.
We live it and we learn. We live and we learn. This guy has been absolutely terrible. I think I've expressed this on the channel before. I still to this day cannot believe how badly this has gone foreign policy wise. I've never seen a group of Democrats that were war hawks before. I just now everything's reversed. The Democrats are all for pro-war and the Republicans are for peace. I'm confused.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let me get PF Cutters in here. Go ahead, PF.
Oh, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Greetings.
Right. Go ahead, sir.
What I would say basically is, Dr. Dinos, you said that well, you support everybody's rights. No, yes, I support everybody's rights.
Right. I mean, I support everybody's rights, but if the people are saying, I mean, again, for some reason, the United States of America wants to lead with that whenever they come to Africa, and that same question gets brought up, and it's like, dude, like, there's way more important shit to worry about and talk about.
Facts. But I would also expand on that to the point where, yes, I support everybody's rights of being a human being, to being alive as a human being. But when they talk about rights, they talk about rights in regards of privileges that heterosexuals have, that they want homosexuals to have. That's what they come to promote. In other words, if heterosexuals are allowed to marry, they should allowed to marry. If heterosexuals are allowed to express their romance in public, they should do the same. And they're not realizing that, well, they know very well those things are geared towards children. And that's what I don't support. I don't support them having particular privileges like heterosexuals, because those things are geared towards targeting children. Children around seeing those things is dangerous for their education and will create confusion. We don't want our children learning this at a very tender age. No. Let them grow up organically as we have done it, and understand it organically as life goes on, if they want to do that later on in their life. Do not force these things on children. I do not support that at all. And African countries, you all need to follow Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, and so on, rejecting that. Don't be like South Africa that already implemented that nonsense. There's no disrespect to South Africa, but I don't support that agenda. And the next thing too, they need to watch. Pay attention. Make sure they're doing the homework. Because as Kenya got a new president last year, in August or September, a month after, all of a sudden, you seen Bill Gates visiting the country, and then you heard their shipments on their port of GMO foods. That's the next thing the American government going to promote, GMO foods. Those things, scientifically proven, cause many health problems, cancers and diabetes, high blood pressure, and so forth. Reject that outright too. Africa already has so many diseases that they're battling so many times over the years before. They don't need no other one with those with those GMO foods and those GMO seeds. Because Kamala Harris made it very clear she want to speak to farmers. So what you want to speak to them for? It's clearly to promote that GMO agenda that they think is so revolutionary and forward thinking. Those GMO seeds is not good for humanity. There's so many scientific research has proven that. So why would you go and promote that? And this is why I'm saying I always warn countries, stop going to these lending institutions like the World Bank, the IDB, the IMF. Because in order for you to get the loans that you want from them, you have to agree to these things. Otherwise, you get no money. You get no money borrowed from them if you don't agree to it. Ghana right now is in an IMF program because their economy has defaulted. So you're seeing how things coming into place now. Everybody is appearing in Ghana where so-called want to do business because as what Brother Alan rightly said, they're worried about the BRICS. The BRICS is gaining power because as Brandon said yesterday or the day before, they got Saudi Arabia and Iran, two arch enemies, to unite under the BRICS movement.
A Sunni and a company, a Sunni and a Shia country.
Exactly. People need to open up and wake up their eyes and reject the West agenda outright. They don't have Africa's future in the best interest at all. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And do we? It's just here in America again. Like I said, I respect everybody's fundamental rights as human beings, but when it comes to the alphabet crew, they're just taking this too far. Like, leave the kids out of it. Now, leave the kids out of it.
But they can't.
But leave sports out of it. Like, no, if you're a man, if you identify as a woman, no, you should not be using the same space. Alan, you have a daughter, don't you?
I have two daughters.
Yeah. He should not be using the same locker room space as your daughter. Like, why is that even an argument?
Because we've fallen into this weird mentality that what you self-identify is more important than the rights of anybody else. So we've pretty much violated the rights of women because they don't matter anymore. They're just chest feeders and baby carriers, right? That man with his penis is the same thing, and so she should be able to go into the restroom with the rest of the women, regardless if she has a penis or not. It's the kind of mentality that people like Putin look at us and they just laugh. They laugh. They think they think it's disgusting, and they think that we've created a degenerate society that they don't want to emulate. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's just it's right. Yeah.
But they need to have our children though. They need to have our children because, especially for the transgenderism issue, because they have to re-educate and retrain kids in order to young people in order to have this whole change that they want. And it's been working. It's effective, and this society is filled with it. And and even people from abroad who come here, they gain that mentality. I was just talking to a Nigerian lady today who has this mentality that she's all for the LGBTQ thing, and she's looking down on her old country for not accepting it. That's what's happened. And so when people don't understand, that's what people in other countries are resisting. They're resisting some of these things, especially when you start taking children and now you're transitioning them prior to puberty, or like Dwayne Wade, prior to even being double digits. You're transitioning your boy into a girl, and
and then they prance him around, and he's like the boy's like a hero, and it's just. And meanwhile, the other son, like the oldest son, is doing very well in basketball, but he gets the picture.
But no, doesn't even get mentioned, and he can ball.
Right.
So, yeah, and what's the other one? The one they have on the television show, where they have the mother blatantly pushing her son to be a daughter. They gave him the.
I don't watch that show. What show?
Jazz, whatever his name is. I don't watch it. I've seen it come up, and I'm just thoroughly disturbed by it. Even people who are for that are disturbed by it because she's clearly pushed this boy into that. He's grown up, and now he's missing his parts, and and doesn't want to use the dilator as the mother instructs. It's a pretty sick show.
It's Jazz Jennings. That's what somebody said it's called.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I never even heard of it.
You don't want to.
Okay. I haven't heard of it.
You don't want to. If you knew what I meant by a dilator, you wouldn't want to know anything else.
What's it? I'm scared for you to even answer.
A dilator is the thing that when you change your penis into a vagina.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You have to stuff the dilator in there to keep the wound open so that your body doesn't naturally heal it. And so the mother is making the son do that. I mean, the daughter or whatever. I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm confused. And they can get away with it. Is the daughter underage?
Well, yeah, the daughter was underage when she began the process, and now the daughter is older and is in her late teens and isn't using the dilator. She said, and the mother's literally yelling on television, "I'm gonna make you use the dilator if the last thing I do." And
these are black.
No. These are white people.
But these are white people. Okay. Mm. Somebody said it's somebody in the chat room said, hold on, let me see here. Somebody in the chat room said, hold on. Somebody in the chat room said this isn't black people who are pushing this agenda. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, 86% of us vote Democrat and brag about it and talk about how we saved the Democratic Party. So yes, it is.
Yeah. We have to take responsibility for that. I have to take responsibility for that as somebody who voted for this guy. Whether I like it or not, that I didn't vote for him for these reasons, but the fact of the matter is that's the agenda he's pushing, just like Obama before him. That's just the truth.
This Africa tour is also a follow-up to the conference that they met in Washington during the Christmas period last year, right? So these are basically a follow-up to that people need to watch. Remember, they offered a so-called $55 billion to the continent.
But that's nothing. That's pennies compared.
Which is nothing. Which is nothing. We know that. It is nothing. But the fact of the matter is, you're now seeing all the conditions to that come out one by one to the countries that wants to do business, in inverted commas, with the United States. You're now hearing the conditions to that for those who want to accept that money. And I hope that they use their brains and be better negotiators for their own people.
They don't even
Nana,
no.
go
They
ahead.
don't
Sorry.
No, it's no problem. They don't need to negotiate. They already have a partner who is putting those conditions on them, who's doing far more. So it would be foolish of them to even look in the direction of this country and what it is they're offering, because we're offering nothing and we're putting conditions on it.
Right. So exactly, very good point. And that negotiator should be, well, even though I'm not really fully too happy about it, but at least they should throw China in their face. Well, hear what? The Chinese offering us this. The Russians are offering us this. Right? For example, you see how the Russians are supporting the Malians, the Guineans, and in Burkina Faso to get the French out. They could use that as big bargaining chips. That, hear what? America, well, we want this and this and this. Don't bring this agenda. Don't bring that agenda. If you want to work with us, here's an example. Wipe out those debts and remove your military. How about
that? America's not going to do that, because America is the only thing we have left now is our military might. We have more bases than everybody else combined around the world. We have over 700 bases.
That's a fact.
Around the world. You know, China has like 2. You know, they're not interested,
right,
in posting up in your country. So we are, you know, so what anybody with sense can see that what America is offering is the same old. And Kamala, from what I heard in her speech, doesn't seem to be showing that the United States is even deviating from that. She's just coming, you know, with a smile, with a cackle, and trying to convince people to not deal with China. That's the only thing they're offering is, please don't deal with China. Don't deal with Russia. Be on our side. And it's too late. It's too late.
I hope it's too late, but you know, as it stands, for example, you're seeing countries like Democratic Republic of Congo still pleading to the French and the West for help. And I don't like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you have that country, but also gotta watch Cameroon as well, because President Biya is so close to the French. It's not even funny.
And France is falling apart as we speak.
Right, exactly. Right now, there's wide-scale protests around the country in France against those pensions, the economic challenges right now, inflation. There's widespread protests in France and violence against their own government. Now, the government in France just survived a referendum, right, of no confidence in President Macron and his government. They win a narrow victory. But I'm telling you, the longer those protests continues, the better the chances of the citizens flipping a few politicians out of Macron's government later on. Right now, Macron, even so you're winning next term, you're not looking favorably, because right now African countries are waking up and kicking your military and your influence out of the continent. Next country that they're doing it is in Central African Republic. That's the next country. They need to look at Niger, Senegal. If they could get through in Gabon, because Gabon is the next one too close to the French. They're asking the French and the Americans for certain loans and whatever. They're trying to, I don't understand what's wrong with the Gabonese president, but I don't know.
Well, you can say the same thing about Cote d'Ivoire too. That's like French headquarters in Africa.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. They need to understand that the French doesn't have the best interest at heart. And if you want to make deals with them, business deals with them, why try starting with eradicating those debts, the colonial taxes and the debts that they have on the country's economy first thing first, wipe out those debts. They would not do that.
They're not going to do it. They need the money. For the France is in trouble, and so they rely more on the colonial taxes than they will ever let on.
They need to put pressure on the government to stop force the French to stop doing that, to stop that colonial tax, stop borrowing money from them. Don't go to Eurozone in Europe. If you check the interest rates to borrow money from them, it's extremely high. You'll be paying back that loan 3 times for the next 100 years. And this is the problem. Now, people concerned about the Chinese loans to certain countries, and they say, look at what happened to Zambia. They defaulted on the loan, and the Zambian government ended up giving up their port. They can learn from these countries. They can. And have better arrangements that better suffices whether repayment of certain loans or generating certain forms of economic development that you could supply your development program, but still not stunt the progress of the country and the cash inflow. They need to understand those things. Because how it's going now, if they continue to buddy up themselves with the West, I am telling you, many of those countries will follow suit with Ghana, and even worse, what happened in France would start happening in Africa just now with these governments. There will be serious uprising. People forget that last year, during the summer last year, Sierra Leone had uprising in their country against the government for the economy.
Hey, PF, how do you think that election is going to play out in June?
I believe for some reason, somehow the president might hold on for next term. Might.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to hold on.
I think he might hold on for next term.
Yeah.
It's down to the population to come out in their numbers and continue that support, that vigor that they showed in the uprising last year, to try and flip as much people as possible if they think their government is not doing right by them. They need to flip a few members of the government's cabinet to switch. That's the only way. Otherwise, I still think that the government might. I think they would serve a second term, consecutive term. I think they will win.
Well, guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in and add to this discussion.
But how could African countries not see that I think most African countries are seeing the changes happening, and I think that's the reason why.
Oh, yeah, you see what happened in Kenya?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
He basically said the U.S. dollar is no good, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's happening.
South Africa is saying they're not arresting Putin if he comes.
Yeah.
Nope. Malema said that. Malema said they will escort him. They will bring him safely to whatever conference he wants to do and escort him back safely to the airport where he could go back home to his country. Julius Malema said that.
That would have never happened 5 years ago.
Nope. It would never happen 5 years ago. No, correct.
5 years ago, they would have done exactly what the U.S. told them to do. But they see that there's a new hegemon. There's a new economic power in the world, and America's scared. You saw the House in the United States just started a committee on China, and
yes,
they none of them seem to know what they're talking about.
They're confused. They don't know how to deal. They don't know how to deal with the growing influence of China and Russia. The BRICS is a major problem for them. They don't know how to deal with this monster because they've seen many allies, like I said, being flipped by the BRICS. If you have a major ally in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, turn your backs on you and go on to your supposed enemy, you clearly see that the West is losing their grip of power bit by bit. And that's why, well, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm saying that that it's really you're losing power when you've pissed off Mexico, and Mexico's talking about joining BRICS.
Yes, yes, correct, yes, yes. And you see in South Africa, Ramaphosa is under plenty pressure himself.
He is because he actually, what he did is he let the Russians and the Chinese down the deep blue sea in the South Atlantic to perform some drill down there. And since the beginning of times, African Union tried their hardest to keep NATO away from there. But South Africa, Ramaphosa, he basically, with his ego, he actually got the Russians and the Chinese practicing drill in the South Atlantic. And a lot of the report that I read, the African Union is not happy about it because he never consulted the African Union before letting the Chinese and the Russian, doing their drill down in our waters. So that's a little bit concerning. I mean, we're just doomed in a way because, I don't think even the Russians are any good.
No, neither me, but to be fair though, at least Ramaphosa was forced to because he realized many citizens of the country don't want to work with Europe or North America. They don't want their influence. Now, you mentioned the African Union has raised concerns. Who do you think controls the agenda of the African Union? Europe, the West. That's their puppet leader. So they would obviously raise alarm to the South African government. Because
no, it's not the West that raised the alarm. It's the African Union that's raising the alarm because the African Union is saying, throughout history we managed to keep NATO away because NATO always wanted to perform drill down there because it's much more it's a different terrain. But those countries around there that own that part of the world, obviously that are bordered in the South Atlantic, managed to keep NATO away. But why South Africa will invite Russia and China to perform drill? They only got one submarine. That's old and rotten. Trying to involve in the war that's not our problem. So he basically practically trying to bring us into the war. That's not our problem.
So you say that the African Union normally allows NATO to drill?
No, the African Union never allowed NATO to drill around there.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, well, you're correct. Yes, you're correct.
So South Africa shouldn't have gone on their way on their own without consulting the African Union. Because as we're speaking, I don't know if they finished it, but the Russians and the Chinese are down there with the South African. That's no good.
Right. Correct is right. But I also have reservations about the leadership of the African Union, though. I still think they are a puppet for the West, too, on the low.
What's his name? Faki is a traitor. He's a traitor. He's working with the Arabs and the West. He's a puppet. Everybody knows that. And it's only when Macky Sall start coming in there, even him, I'm not really sure if he's that strong anyway, but it's when Macky Sall started working with him and some other leaders start, keeping an eye on him. That's when they start cleaning up things slowly. But the thing is, when you look at Israel being observer at the African Union, it's like, how comes Palestine is part of the African Union? These countries are not Africans. They're Middle East. Do you see African countries in the European Union? No. So our leaders are letting us down, day by day. It's all these old leaders. Most of the young leaders have got different mentality. So as time goes on, I think things will change by having younger leaders in there with our sort of mind frame. That's all we need. But as long as we've got these old fools in there, nothing's going to change.
Correct. I'm glad you mentioned the old fools because in the clip that Diners played, now he was answering, Nana Akufo-Addo was answering the question about this LGBT policy and the legislation that is right now on their parliament floor being debated.
Yes.
And he says, well, it's going through whatever committees to ensure that it meets all constitutionalities, as he say, in order for it to be passed. And when it finishes that stage, it will be further debated and then passed and whatever. No, and he will basically support all the recommendations for and against in the final bill and so forth. But here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Look how this topic of that legislation has came back into the lexicon.
That's right.
I remember when the Ghanaian government last year announced that they're going to the IMF. Months before that, there was plenty, I wouldn't say furor, but plenty celebration and support worldwide.
Yeah.
From the global black diaspora and Africans internationally, supporting the Ghanaian government enacting that legislation.
Right.
After tabling the legislation in Parliament, debated it in 2021.
Right.
And since after the COVID lockdowns or whatever, and the economy started to open back up, and then you see all the policies that the Ghanaian government was doing that started to affect their economy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now he announced he going to the IMF to borrow some money because he needed some structural adjustment.
Nana. You're talking about Nana, yeah?
Yes, Nana, yes. The president himself.
Yeah.
Right? Because apparently, even himself, during that tabling of the legislation, many Ghanaians were questioning him. You had made all this money from tourism, from the year of return, and yes, there's COVID and so forth. COVID slowed down the economy. Where has the profit inflow gone? What policies that you implemented to further that economic development?
That's right.
And all of a sudden now, he announced he's going to the IMF in early 2022, and then all the talk and the furor and the celebration from tabling that legislation that most Ghanaians did support on both sides of the political divide in Ghana was wholeheartedly support that shook the West, because I saw a CNN report talking about that.
Yeah.
Died down. Literally disappeared.
Same.
Because he went to the IMF. The IMF don't like those things. And if you want the money, you have to quell that talk. Basically withdraw the bill.
Yeah.
Find some way to send it to the joint select committees to to review the bill, as there's always a review. Because basically the lenders of those money want you to remove certain things and basically delay, because if you delay the implementation.
It's funny how the right-wing media was going on about how the Chinese, taking over Africa, they're giving us all kind of loans, they're building ports, they're doing that during the COVID. And I remember I saw an article about, wiping out the debt for the African countries because they were struggling, to fight COVID. So that was like a suggestion from some countries, a suggestion to say, okay, let's wipe out certain amount of debt for the African countries so they can help themselves out, because we never gave them any vaccine or any way to help themselves out. And the IMF, they put a lot of pressure on the IMF. Unfortunately, I think they only wiped out, I don't know exactly what the figure is, but it's so tiny you can't even notice. And the Chinese wiped out like a massive amount of debt for the African countries, and in fact, add more money towards investment. So I can see why, to be honest, I can see why the African countries, will continue working with the Chinese, for the long time.
Yes, that's true, because the Chinese, at least for now, on the surface, I would say, the Chinese not coming in the African continent adversarial. They're not coming as adversaries and try to violently impose their will on the African governments.
The only downside to the Chinese investment, though, we have noticed a bit of authoritarianism in Africa. It's like it's coming back again, slowly but surely, and I don't know if that's helpful. No. That's my only worry. But other than that, because the accountability, African leaders need some kind of accountability, because the African Union is not functioning very well. The ECOWAS is no functioning. So if they don't have any accountability, and that's a big problem.
That's facts. And as what Dino said on his last show, with regards to him having 2 ECOWAS passports, but yet he was not allowed to be seamlessly transferring from one country's border to the other. That's a problem. That's a problem. If Dinos could have 2 ECOWAS passports and yet still being stopped and coerced for certain monetary donation or payments or whatever, while being an official valid ECOWAS member, that is nonsense. I don't agree that. They need to clean that up. And I think Ghana is the head of ECOWAS right now.
Yeah. No, it's Nigeria, isn't it? Well, the main headquarters is in Nigeria, right?
Well, ECOWAS headquarters in Ghana.
Is it Ghana?
Yeah, but I recently saw, in fact, our president Bio and Buhari and the president in Guinea-Bissau, they opened a new quarter in Abuja, so that's where it's going to be moved to. And I think they're building they're actually trying to reinforce it properly this time, because since the ECOWAS headquarters been in Ghana, it's not really been functioning well. I think they want to bring it closer to Nigeria so they can supervise all these little countries around them. And also they're looking to bring like a court of justice kind of thing for these local leaders. So any one of them that, when go too far, they can actually bring them back there. Because in fact, a lot of these, like the warlord during the 90s, most of them end up in Nigeria anyway. Because it's like Nigeria is more like our big brother in the West African zone, isn't it? They're the only people that have the military might, the only people that have the finances and everything else too. The reason why ECOWAS was weak, because I think Ghana was more in control of it. But recently, it's becoming a bit more proactive, a little bit more, but there's still more to be done in the ECOWAS region. I think we need to start from there before we even think about African Union, to be honest.
So who is the chair of ECOWAS right now? Is it Nigeria or Guinea-Bissau?
No, Guinea-Bissau is the chair.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And it's doing all right, to be honest. It's not, for a small country like Guinea-Bissau, he's actually doing all right. Because I seen him went to Tunisia when the Africans were getting targeted in Tunisia. Went over there and talked to them, and likewise some of the big leaders in Africa just sat home, never done nothing. But he went there and spoke to the guy and said, "Look, man, you can't keep doing this to our brothers. I mean, we're all Africans. Why are you telling the people to target our people?"
Right.
Just got to be reminded.
So this election that just took place in Nigeria, I have plenty of suspicions about how the same party.
Right, the election. I wanted Peter Obi to win the election.
Yes, I wanted
him to. For equity and justice, I think is fair, and the guy is young and it's fit, it's energetic, and he got what it takes to rule the country. But unfortunately, he did not have the numbers, and that's what let him down. And also, the party that he came from, which is PDP.
Hey, if I can make a comment, El Nawa, if you could please post in the chat room where it's fraudulent to have 2 different African citizenships. I don't know where you Negroes get these conspiracy theories from. That you can't have 2 different passports on the two passports from 2 different African countries. Please post the facts. Nawa, Leo, Lee, whatever. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so the APC party obviously have the structure, and Nigeria is all about structure, and also like the base. If you look at the APC where they are, APC is more like a northwest southwest party, and that's where most of the population, the chunk of the population live, and that's where the power lies. They call it in Nigeria, they call it the Danfodio corridor. That's where the power always been. If you want to be in power, you have to get the vote from those areas, from the southwest to the northwest.
I see. So how much of the percentage that Obi got out of the vote?
How many percentage of the votes he got. He did. I think he came third.
Came third.
Yeah, came third. I think PDP came second and APC came first. But Obi was part of PDP. Now, because he left PDP and he formed his own party, and in fact, the Labour Party itself that Obi belonged to was part of the PDP. Because like even APC, they got like different little parties that merged into one that made it APC. And so because Obi was the Labour Party was there, so they actually stopped PDP getting in power.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like having one party in the south fragment itself, leaving one party that got the stronghold to actually take over the votes. That's what happened. But a lot of people don't think the election was free and fair, and I can see where they're coming from as well, because this is Africa, and nothing is free and fair.
But I think Jonathan Miller in the chat said apparently the election was fair, and
I can see. I mean, the numbers are too. The margin is too wide for it not to be fair. Yeah, it's too.
Well, I think this is young Obi's first time getting his feet wet. So maybe if you come back again,
you come back under PDP, I think he will do it. But if he stays with a smaller party, he will not do it. That's the trouble, isn't it? You got two main parties that run the country, and for you just to come in and kick them out of the way, it's very difficult, man.
Well, not necessarily, Brother Al, because in South Africa, that's where the EFF came out of a party. They're a smaller party, part of a bunch of other parties like, the DA and the COPE and whatever. The fact of the matter is, you see bit by bit in consecutive elections, the EFF is growing in support base, right? They got over 1 million of the votes in South Africa, and they're growing in more popularity.
I hope
Leo,
so.
yeah. Hold on one second. Yes, Leo. Yes, I don't know why Negroes are so concerned about having someone having multiple passports in Africa. Yes, Leo, it is. I have 3, and they're very aware. God, I don't get it, man. I just know sometimes the battles, Alan, that we choose to fight.
Yeah.
Madness.
That's the battle you want to fight. Yes, you can.
Well, there was a video that came out from another YouTuber who was questioning whether or not you could have multiple passports in Africa, and they brought your name up, and so that's how that all spread.
Yeah, I mean, Africa is Africa. We got different countries, different system, different regions. So, people have to be sure about things before they actually go ahead with it. But the other passport in Africa is money. If you have money, you can go anywhere.
That's it right there, Brother Al. Apparently, maybe some people feel disenchanted because, people like Diners maybe could afford or whatever, are lucky enough to have multiple passports from different countries. And they themselves, at this point in their lives, they can't afford that yet. So they maybe want to find some way to talk down on that and shame the brother and people like him for doing so when they can't really afford that opportunity yet. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, if they were in the position as Brother Diners and other folks who are like that, they would do exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. I value the 2 passports I have. And I wouldn't trade them in for anything. So, but a lot of people don't even see it. Americans don't even have their American passport, and they don't value passports. They don't understand the value of them, so they make comments. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, dual citizenship. Some countries have dual citizenship. Some countries don't accept it. But I think in Africa in general, going to Africa, it's better if you go there, have an ECOWAS passport so you can travel around the region with it. Keep your American passport away, because that will cost you more money. If the authorities see that, they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's American, he's rich." You know what I mean? So,
but these governments need to have some proper backbone with regards to the needs of their people, because as you see with many of these elections now, especially the young folks on the continent, they want change.
Yes.
It cannot be business as usual all the damn time. And when these world powers coming into Africa to so-called reconnect and rebuild relationships and so forth, if these African leaders smart, because I fed up seeing Nana Akufo-Addo only want to make so-called speeches about it is not business as usual, but yet he's conducting business as usual.
Yeah.
Right? He's just a person of lip service, want to be a spokesperson for the continent.
But he's not doing anything to actually show for it. Yeah, no, that's true. I noticed that he's been talking a lot for years, and you know, the way he talked like a real Pan-African, but he don't act Pan-African because I haven't even seen him trying to push, you know, to lead ECOWAS or do something at the African Union level. You know, because that's where action must be taken. You know, like when our people were targeted in Tunisia, I would expect all the African leaders would have been straight away in Addis Ababa having an emergency conference and say, look, you can't do this to our people, otherwise we'll kick you out. But it take a small president from Guinea-Bissau to go there, you know, and talk to the guy. It's like, come on.
And shout out to that president from Guinea-Bissau for doing that. Yeah. I respected that because the fact of the matter is, even so, for all the emotional connection or whatever, I want to welcome us there. Let's forget that part. And if they just want to study about business, because that's one of the main things the continent needs, rapid developmental progress. They need manufacturing. They need rapid levels of ICT. Kenya is a leading country with ICT. They're the best broadband in the entire continent. Fastest, world-class development. They need to expand that continent-wide. So, on a business proposition, just to say, well, here what? It will serve us better long term to say, here what now? Let's go to the blasted African Union and tell this current puppet leader, well, if you don't want to support our agenda of bringing the diaspora home, to invest and bring economic development, we're going to make where to you as a spokesperson for the continent and them being the sixth region.
Yeah.
This is the plan we submit to you. You transmit the message. We're going to aggregate this amount of land and we're going to create.
Excuse me, someone is saying in the chat that the headquarters of ECOWAS is in Nigeria. Okay, maybe that's so, but I thought it was in Ghana.
Yeah, it's in Nigeria. It's in Nigeria.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was in Ghana because they must have another branch in Ghana though, because I have seen few conferences that went on in Ghana. Maybe they got a conference hall over there where they attend to. Because in the news as well, most of the time I hear ECOWAS meeting in Ghana. But yeah, if it's in Nigeria, that's not going to be a single tiny bit of surprise because that's our main hub in West Africa.
Nigeria must be the leading charge of this plan of rapid African development continent-wide.
Nigeria is a leader of West Africa in a lot of aspects. You know, you'd be surprised. You know,
Right. And they should bring ECOWAS together. Then they go to SADC, and then they go to the Eastern African Community and the Central African grouping of all countries and say, here what, this is the proposal. This is what we could offer as a country. We might be more technical, let's say, in terms of bringing a lot of engineers out.
Yeah, someone in the chat is saying the real leaders in Africa is Assimi Goïta and Traoré in Burkina Faso and the other one. I would dispute that because the reason why I would dispute that, how can he be a real leader when you keep seeking help from foreign mercenaries, you know, and to come into your country, you know, it's like that's the same thing Ghana did with America. You know, they got the American to train them to fight so-called Al Qaeda. You know, you had on the clip just now. You know, that's what I say narrative that they're trying to push, and it didn't get them nowhere. I mean, the Wagner that is in Mali today, it's been in Central Africa for how many years? In fact, the situation got worse over there. It didn't get better at all. So,
there are good points you made about Central African Republic, but at the same time, though, until you could develop your own military resistance that is sufficient enough
For me, exactly. That's why I think Nigeria is the only country that have legs to stand on when it comes to those things. The rest of them, they're just puppet looking for some help from. They're still struggling and looking for a white savior. The rest of them.
I think, to be fair, brother Al, I think they will have to form some convenient or temporary allyship with the Russians for now until they can organize and get themselves up in a particular period of time. They can form certain agreements where, well, here what, Russia, since you're here and you're helping us for now, we want you to properly train our military. Let's get these in terms of getting sophisticated weaponry to assist us to build up our own military.
Yeah, you need to start making your own weapons. Probably can't keep buying it.
Right.
That's the core. If you don't have those things, and also like where you can repair aircraft. That's what they do in Nigeria. They repair the aircraft. In fact, they assemble it over there. They do a lot of stuff. The military level is way advanced. So comparing Assimi Goita actually having some old Russian choppers and stuff like that to country that actually, buy the high-tech weapon and actually assemble them and actually manufacture some of their weaponry, it's just a joke. Complete joke.
That's
some of these guys are so emotional, I want Mali to be a peaceful state and want Burkina Faso and all Niger and all these places to be peaceful. Right. But unfortunately, what they did by kicking the French out without having a proper strategy, I think is not going to play out well in the long run. Because if you're going to kick, like most of these West African French colonies, I know they want to get rid of the French, but what's the other option? Before you get rid of them, you got to make sure you get your finances right, you get your defense right. You can't just kick them out and leave that vacuum there. Someone else is going to move in.
Well, the alternative is to join BRICS. There are countries that are joining what they call BRICS Plus, where they're actually joining this other financial pact with the new with China, Brazil, South Africa, India. So that is the option. I actually read I saw something the other day where they said Jamaica is joining BRICS Plus as well. So
I'm not surprised because you know why Jamaica have a lot of expertise in defense. Like in the UK here, a lot of Jamaicans in the army. If you go in some of the army barracks, you're going to see flight lieutenant that Jamaicans have been in the Air Force here for years. They got that background, right? So compared to small island like Jamaica, compared to some countries in Africa, it's a no-no.
Same here for my country, Trinidad. We have several of our military men is part of the Royal Military in the UK.
Yeah.
So what Al said is very correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not apples to apples comparison, but the point is that they're accepting applications basically and trying to create a block. So if they're looking for a second plan, a plan of action to stabilize their economy, to get money, to get resources, that's obviously the only place you can go if you're not going to the West. There's only two. There are only two places you can go. You can go deal with the West, or you can deal with BRICS at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, the BRICS. Well, the BRICS is quite. Yeah, no, it's true. I agree with that. But the reality is, we don't want to just join anything for the sake of it without joining with the right deal, because that's what we always done wrong. Just join for the sake of it, and then we end up being just part of it, not being in it, and then we don't get to decide what's happening, what's going on. We don't have. We're always lagging behind, and it's been happening for years, and so that needs to stop. So that's why I think the best solution is take it steady, start building your own military from the grassroots level, and go back to the education system where people are well educated in terms of military warfare, because we need all this sort of stuff. Some countries should go American, some countries have to go back on national service where majority of the youth have to join the army and get their skills and skills levels set there. Because over here, you can do that as well. You can go to the territorial army and get some skills. You don't have to go to war. And, you learn how to be a carpenter or be a lorry driver or, fix the roads. So, because Africa, we don't have money for all this kind of infrastructure. Can you imagine if the military is actually getting involved in some of the local infrastructure? it could save the countries a lot of money in the long run. And also, it can actually help build defense in the country.
Well, you say that they don't have, I think they do have the money. The money is not properly utilized and aggregated to the right areas under the right strategy in their development programs. That's the problem. That's why they go to borrow money from these lending institutions, because when they have the resources, most of these leadership don't intend to use the resources in the right way. Most of them use it to suffice their coffers, meaning them, their family, and their inner circle, and the West.
Right.
They don't aggregate and use those resources properly for the wider community, wider nations that they govern. They do not do that. That's the problem. So I don't think the money is the issue. You could find the money. You'll always find the money. You just need the proper mindset, the will to do right by the people.
Yeah.
And the only way this leadership will do right by the people is if they feel threatened. I hate to say this, because I'm not advocating for violence. I am just saying they need to feel threatened of losing their position of power.
Yeah.
The young population need to make their voices heard constantly. It cannot only be close to election time, they're uprising. They need to be doing it every single month, every single year. Start to be more politically educated. Because most young people think that it's boring. It's boring to sit down and watch parliamentary debates on television.
Yes.
Right? They think it's boring to go through all that work and study politics.
Right.
It might be boring. It is time consuming, yes. But the more that you try to do that, it is smarter you're making yourselves, because no politician could think they could hoodwink you, try and hoodwink you, and take advantage of you.
It's the biggest worry for me is like we always worry about the outsiders, but see for me in Africa, it's those North African states we got to worry about more. So they're the one that are actually closer to us. They're the one that will be causing more trouble in the near future.
Somebody said I left. I'm right here. Who said I left? Oh, go ahead.
Don't worry about it.
That's Brother Jonathan.
Okay, don't worry. Go ahead. I'm here.
Yeah. So those are the countries that we need to worry about, because if you look at what Tunisia done recently, that's just like a good sign to show that we have our enemies sleeping right next to us, and we actually not looking at, we're not paying attention well.
No, well, Tunisia for sure was one of the countries. Now, here's the thing: people, as you mentioned, the Arab world in North Africa. Now, here's the thing,
yes,
right?
Diallo is right as well. Doumbouya in Guinea is doing it. Yeah, he's. You know what? I was one of his biggest critic, that guy, but he's actually, surprising me quietly. He's just keep his head down. I know people don't want him there, but the people in the country want him. As far as things going. Anytime I speak to people locally in the country, they're like, you know what, just leave him alone, leave him where he is.
Yeah, because they're seeing that the impact.
They're seeing the impact. Exactly. So
he's trying to put proper policies in that will help them in the long term. Yeah. Sometimes it will be difficult.
He will leave, but he's trying to fix certain things. You know what I mean? And the thing is, that's what we always do. We get emotional and want to kick him out for the sake of democracy. Then we bring some, another puppet in there that's going to be causing more trouble and leaving people in more. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, he's putting a proper structure in. So if somebody's putting a right structure, you have to support them. Yeah. And that's what you need to build, a proper structure. Yeah. Where there's a clear political or a clear policy-driven agenda going forward that will be sustained in national development. You need that.
Yeah,
and then he will bow out because he's not an actual politician.
The only thing though I'm a bit worried about, but I think that's going to be sorted out because Guinea and Sierra Leone, we're brothers. We're brothers, sisters. You can't separate us anyway. And there's a place called Yenge in Kono district in the Far East. That it didn't started under him. During the war, the former president Conte did took that territory from Sierra Leone, and they handed it back. But we did had like a talk between each other, and they handed the country back, the village back to Sierra Leone. But recently, the Guinea government just went and put a pillar there, right on the pillar saying since 1866. That means since 1866 that land belonged to Guinea. But hopefully it will hand the place back to Sierra Leone, because we don't have the military might to fight Guinea. We're just little brothers next door.
Al, what are your thoughts on the upcoming election in June?
In Sierra Leone, I think to be honest, Ernest, it's very difficult for a president in Africa to do one term. Most of the time, they end up doing 2 term anyway. It's when they do their 2 term, then someone else come in. So as far as I can see, and also the opposition leader, he got a court case at the moment that's hanging on his neck, and that doesn't look good for him.
Well, what's the court case about?
Apparently there's a building that when he was a minister of finance, he he transferred some money for the building to be bought or renovated, but they questioned him.
It never got renovated or bought?
Yeah, about the money and how much was spent.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like that. So they're trying to get into the bottom of it before it get to the election, because you don't want that to be hanging. But it's very close to the election now, and that's hanging on him. Sadly, I think it's very unfortunate, because you don't want to be having to go through that at the back of your mind as an opposition leader. But it's gonna be a steep hill for him to climb. That's how I see it, and it's very difficult for an African leader to do 1 term in office. Especially in Sierra Leone, it's very difficult.
Right.
That's my opinion on Sierra Leone. If I think Bill will come back to power. That's my opinion, and I think after this time, then it'll be APC next anyway. In fact, APC, they're the one that used to rule that country for the longest.
Let me ask you this. So when the APC, when they announced their candidate, the guy that's what's his name? He's on trial.
Dr. Samura Kamara. He's a good guy. I really like him.
Yeah. But it was crazy when they announced it, man. Like, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of people were out in the streets celebrating.
Oh yes, they
I
love
just feel
it.
like they were paid, or they're not just causing problems, and they're not really going to vote anyway.
Yeah, you know how people are like, when this Africa, when campaign season comes, they all come out. When the election day comes in, they all sit at home.
Right.
But he's a very popular guy, I must admit. Though he's very popular in the country and in some region. But unfortunately, as I said.
I think we lost him. And what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Alan, anything you want to share in closing? Alan. Oh, my bad. I'm muted. Alan, anything you want to share?
No, I'm muted. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, all I'm going to say is it's a wonderful time to be alive, because you're actually seeing African leaders stand up and actually say things now that they have a backing of a new superpower and is emerging, and it's exciting time politically to see different things, to see the options that Africa and other parts of the world have, or what they call the global South.
Yes, sir. With that being said, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.